Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Yep, podcast below in the description. Go check it out.
Also, check out our friends at wineaccess.com/ham, 20% off.
Yep, order yourself a bottle. Go send a gift. Do it right now. wineaccess.com/ham. Go do it.
Satisfaction guaranteed. All right, John, we've got our first draft trade of this draft. Well, not really our first. The Niners made the big one. But this is what Adam Schefter reported on Friday. The Kansas City Chiefs have acquired Ravens tackle Orlando Brown. The Chiefs get a second and a sixth. They trade the 31st pick in this year's draft, plus a third, plus a fourth, plus a future fifth. So a fifth and a sixth in next year's draft exchange. But number 31 in this year's draft now belongs to the Ravens, and the Chiefs get Orlando Brown. The former third-round pick out of Oklahoma was just massive.
Yeah, Kevin Clark just tweeted this, and it was him talking to Brett Veach, the last couple of years, and his quote was, "You've got to be all in every year. The cap keeps going up. Guys get moved, traded. It's never like it seems." And I know they lost the Super Bowl, but for the last 3 years now, with New England dynasty ending, they have been the most consistent franchise in the league for 3 straight years. The year they lost in the AFC Championship, the year they won the Super Bowl, and the year they got back to the Super Bowl. And they keep staying aggressive. They signed Joe Thuney, who was the franchise guard last year for New England. He's there. They go trade for a left tackle after trying to get Trent Williams. Like, this team, to me, feels very much like a Yankees or a Dodgers, but operating in the cap structure. And this gets back to Patrick Mahomes' huge extension. The one thing they were very adamant, and it's hard to follow it because the guaranteed money, and it's not truly $450 million, but they hammered it home. He gave us a deal, like the way that we structured this contract. Obviously, Kelsey did last year. But, Guy, to me, this is the team. I know Tampa beat them in the Super Bowl, but, this is the team to beat every year. And yeah. I think Tampa is now there, too, as long as Brady is erect and healthy. But, these two teams, to me, are just – the Niners view themselves as we'll just right back into it with a rookie quarterback or whatever. But this is they're not better than these teams.
Yeah, what I love about the Chiefs, and this goes, I think maybe it starts with Veach and Andy, but I think it's really centered around Mahomes, is there's no reloading year. Every year you're reloading is a waste of what we think is going to turn out to be one of the all-time great quarterbacks, right? In other words, Orlando Brown's going to be really hard to sign next year. That's next year's problem. We're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. There's if we get Orlando Brown, how are we going to be able to keep him next year? It's maybe we can make it work this year. No, we watched the Super Bowl. Your offensive line has to be better than it was if you're going to win the Super Bowl. Maybe you can go to the AFC title. Maybe if you're going to win the Super Bowl, you are playing with fire if you don't do everything you can to this year's offensive line. And next year, like you said, maybe the cap is way back up again and they can sign him. Maybe they can't. Whatever. It cost them the 31st pick in this year's draft where they were not getting a starting tackle, right?
No. I mean, last year they drafted 32 and they got a running back. And we think the little guy's going to be a good player, but we've seen it forever. And I've always defended this guy a little bit under the notion that drafting is difficult, but Trent Baalke took a lot of shit. Because once he hit his home run draft with Alden, Bowman, Upati, and those couple drafts of the team wasn't any good. And they were drafting high. And then they started going NFC Championship games what the hell? It's hard when you draft 28, 29, 31st. Guess what? A lot of sweet players, boom, 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 go off the board. I was just watching on my phone some of the Panthers press conference. Fitterer and Matt Rule both kind of have this chubby, fun-looking, just to have some beers with vibe. I can see why they hired Fitterer from Seattle, who I actually Googled because I'm like, what's this guy's deal? Played baseball and football at UCLA, then transferred to LSU to finish his baseball career and played in the minors. Pretty athletic youth career for the guy. Ended up obviously being in the NFL for a long time, is now a GM. But they said they had 16. Now, he comes from Seattle. You and I have talked for years about John Schneider. He's like, yeah, we're 14 to 18 on a typical year, first rounders. But they never draft in the top 18.
Yeah.
Now, the Panthers are. But the Chiefs are never going to sniff that. And even if you are a little more open-minded, you are never going to have 32 guys graded in the first round. let alone a tackle who it's pretty important to draft a tackle because they don't have a tackle because they cut both their tackles. And back to the Niners, though, I do think they've kind of watched the landscape of what some of the top teams are doing, and I think that did inspire the trade up. Because I was thinking about this. Imagine if the Packers had taken this mindset to building their team, what the Chiefs are doing with Mahomes in 2010 with Rodgers. Once he wins the Super Bowl in 10, and they're just like, all of our chips every year in the middle of the table. We don't give a shit. Like, we're just going for try to win 3 Super Bowls in the next 5 years. They didn't really. I mean, they kind of had this balancing act of being conservative, building good teams. And they were really good, but they just kind of wasted away this greatness. And still to this day, it's like they're just almost, but if they could do a little, that is not the Chiefs. And luckily with the Niners, they have shown flashes of like they will get super aggressive. Because I think that's what you have to do in modern time. Like the Patriots had a unique thing going where it's like, you come here, you got to take a discount,
Right.
Like those days are kind of over.
Yeah. The other thing I think it shows as it relates to the Niners is when you're in the position they're in this year, when you're in the position they were in with Solomon Thomas, when you're in the position they were in with Nick Bosa, they've been in this position too many times, drafting in the top half of the first round. When you're in that position, if you have a good coach, you're not going to be in that position that often. So when you're in that position, you have to nail it. When Andy Reid's first year was, 2013 in Kansas City?
Yeah.
They had the number 1 pick that year. They drafted Eric Fisher.
He was their left tackle for a decade.
They drafted
not ideal. Weird draft.
Yeah, weird draft, whatever. But that was 2013. Since then, their first in 14, their first pick was the 23rd pick. In 15, their first pick was the 18th pick. In 16, they didn't have a first. In 17, they moved up to get Mahomes to pick 10. In 18, they didn't have a first. In 19, they didn't have a first. And in 20, they had the last first. So when you're in this spot, right, they had the highest pick they've had since the Eric Fisher pick. Only one time were they in the top half of the draft, they drafted Patrick Mahomes. Because if you're good, guess what? You are never going to be back there again. So when you're at 31, you need a tackle, what do? You do what they just did. And if you're the Niners, like building through the draft is great, but you don't want to build off too many blue chip prospects because it means you're always drafted in the top 10. I mean, you want them, but it's like once you get them, it's time to go.
I completely agree. Like I was actually texting with someone from the Chiefs like a week ago, and he's like, the draft, it's our baby, right? The front office, but it does suck a little bit once you get good. Because part of it is like it's a rush going into a draft with a top 7-8 pick, right? What's going to happen? Who can we trade back? Can we add another first? Can we go from like 7 to 15? And you just think in all these different scenarios. Like at 31 or 32, you're just like, you're actually more inclined to do this stuff, right? You're like, what are we doing?
Yeah, let's have some fun today.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully, I think part of what you said about the way the Chiefs are, the Niners are going to be without ones for a while. But ideally, if they nail this, it doesn't even matter. Then you just get on the path. That's where the importance of hitting this pick. I've said it for a while, and the closer we get, Adel, this is a career definer for these guys, right?
Yeah.
Because it could change their life. I mean, it can create a. I think DJ said it yesterday on his conference call with like all the local media guys all over the country, was like, if you hit on a good player, like you can be consistent and kind of keep your job and head above water. You hit on a great player, you create a dynasty. I think what he's kind of talking about is the Chiefs. I also think you might be able to throw in like Josh Allen if he just maintains that. Like the Bills are going to be, that might be their rival, right?
Right.
The Bills and Chiefs.
Right.
But why did they do it? Because they both took big swings and they hit home runs. There's no like, you know who the Packers' rival is? Cousins and the Vikings. But it's like the Cousins and the Vikings are around. They're in the playoff mix. Like no one talks about them like that. And this is back to the Mac thing. It's like, if you want to take down the people that have the best player and are wired like the Yankees, right? Or the Joe Lacob, Kevin Durant Warriors, you better swing for the fences because that's the only way to beat them. You're not going to lap them in the slow lane.
No, you're not.